We're getting into this match now. It's Astralis versus XSET. And we're going to take a look at the bans here to see which 4 operators will be knocked out of the pool this time around.
All right, well, while we're getting into these first bans, I'll give you guys these map stats really quickly. So, John, you want to know about Coastline at the Mexico City Major, my friend, and that ended up having a defensive win rate of, John, roll please, 51%
I think that's almost
overall.
exactly in line with what it was at SI.
Yeah, and so the craziest thing, actually, is that the most played map at the Mexico Major was Consulate. Do you want to know what the defensive win rate was there?
What was it?
50% flat.
Wow. All right. Interesting.
Yes, very, very interesting. But obviously, Consulate has been replaced with Bank, so we'll say goodbye so long to Consulate. The map that's been in the pool for 6 years, guys. Consulate's never been removed from professional play up until now, so very interesting stuff. But we're about halfway through the bans here now, folks, so we'll jump into Coastline and give you guys Astralis versus XSET. We got Thatcher and Mav off the board for the offense, and Valkyrie as well as Wamai going to be removed for defense.
So, say for the Maverick ban there, everything pretty much making perfect sense in terms of why we would end up seeing that. Those are fairly universal bans in the meta right now. The Maverick one is a bit more interesting, though, in the way that it's potentially going to change up Hard Breach. From time to time, we will see Hibana or potentially an Ace get knocked down, and that's mainly due to the walls that it can take down over on the inside of Billiards there, thus opening up access for the attackers quite a bit. Say from that, though, Hard Breaches in general are not really a requirement on this map unless you're attacking a very specific setup, so that's not going to be too big of a deal to see him getting knocked out there.
Yeah, absolutely not. You know, usually on this map, it's going to be the ranged hard breaches that you're going to be seeing a lot of. So like you were saying, Hibana or Ace is usually going to end up making their way in here. We really never see Thermite play. I honestly don't even think we see Maverick that much.
Yeah, that's why I thought the ban was kind of weird. But
yeah, to be honest, if I'm being very candid with you, it is a very strange ban for Coastline. Just because, you know, there's not a lot of walls where you're going to be able to approach them and torch things up the way that you want to. I'm even like trying to run through my head right now as to what he can possibly do with it. I mean,
doing the same,
if he did have the torch, he could possibly affect VIP wall, which could be these here. Outside of that, you know, there's really not too much. You could possibly do some stuff like kitchen wall or like office if they were not going to hold you know, office for their double bar setup if they did do that. So things like that, but it'd be very minimalistic. You'd be able to affect the VIP wall, the office for the wall for office to blue bar, as well as the wall for sunrise to towels down low. So that's really about it. But there is some new stuff as well, folks. We haven't actually had a game of Coastline just yet here inside of the NAL. So there's some new things around the map. First things first that you'll notice, well, Square is completely different. Yes, the courtyard has been remade. They put some new windows and stuff. There's no longer bars here, so makes those gunfights just a little bit easier for both sides.
Makes the cutoffs not so crazy for some of the defender positions as well. A lot of lockdowns can happen from the attacker side of things on the roof moving in, so I think it gives them a little bit more breathing room in areas such as like the top of Cool Vibes and some of the other extremities on the side halls there. Either way, though, to talk more about the specifics of this round, we are about 30 seconds into it. If you're a newer viewer to Siege, not much is going to happen in that period of time, to be completely honest with you, unless we get a really rushed around. But what is happening is a lot of intel gathering from Astralis right now, trying to work their way in here, and we can see there's going to be at least one wall left soft there over on the Billiards wall, so that's going to present a potential issue really, you know, early in the round now for the XSET defense.
I'm absolutely terrified. I really don't know what this setup is going for these two panels missing here, but hey, XSET are the professional players, so we're going to get it figured out here. These cross angles are going to be very detrimental, though, to anyone moving in between these panels, and that's why I'm very worried about how this is all going to break down. They still have some very strong positions. What's up, buddy?
No, I was just going to say, the good news is because of the changes they made to the hallway, they still have a good amount of space in that 90 angle to play from now. So it could work out. I could see a world where this type of positioning works for these guys if they're able to play on that corner more. That's been cut off by the map changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe abuse those cross angles a little bit more across Square and see if they can possibly get some people moving across Billiards here. That, though, it means that Astralis is going to have to deal with this setup if that is the case here. You guys can see the amount of different angles that they have set up. But these top Square angles, the top building, so very difficult to try and fight back against. Shuttle already getting some solid damage off onto NVK. Razor losing a little bit of HP in the process as well.
J90 still trying to inch his way forward, looking for some type of over-aggressive peek from the XSET defense, but they're not getting it. Iconic getting a slight spot onto another player, but is not going to be able to do any serious damage to said player. I believe it's Razor down the corner of the hallway here, and we are coming down to the wire with 50 seconds remaining on the clock. Astralis has played this very slow. Once again, what I talked about in the pregame there, they were looking for XSET to try and do something aggressive. So far, for the most part, that has not happened, and now Astralis, armed with hopefully a load of intel about what the inside of the site looks like, are going to try and execute here. They've used 6 of their drones so far, still have 4 available. Now, XSET themselves going to get a bit more aggressive as Creators tries to swing forward, gets some half-decent damage off on the J90, and Iconic finally going to be jumped out upon over by Sunrise there, but saves his own life, returns a bit of it, I believe, onto Filthy as well, and we enter the final few seconds here, where now Astralis have no choice. They have to force their way in due to a necessity now, no longer a choice, and they're getting torn apart by XSET because of it. J90 has been the only one to trade so far, but he might very well make up the difference here. That's until Razor can shut him down, though, with 2 seconds left. Shuttle's the only one left. He's completely detached from the action, and XSET will hold on to the first round.
So Astralis simply do not work their way into the building. The cross angles actually end up working out here. We could see a couple of the different situations there where XSET were able to use that to keep a line of sight either on Billiard's window or just some nice crosses set up from the 90 position as well as luggage. So there's a couple of different interesting areas they were able to abuse that for. But either way, though, I'll be really honest with you, Astralis simply just didn't do anything inside of that round. They they end up using their info game very early. They get some sort of a semblance of info as to what XSET's game plan is, but outside of that, they sit on window repel the entire time. There really isn't a move forward to try and take map control. They don't even try and deal with any of the XSET players over towards 90, over towards the right hand side of the map. There's just really nothing going on for Astralis on this offense, and that's very, very difficult, especially to try and give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to a map like Coastline, just because things are so harsh for the defense. It's so slated towards, what they should be able to produce, at least early on inside of those rounds with those harsh cutoffs.
You would assume, and again, this is an assumption, so I'm more than likely going to be dead
this
wrong.
This is how things, I hate that I've been referencing chess so much recently, but it's like the lines in chess, you know what I mean? Like, there's a regular set of moves that you make, right? But outside of that, there's other things that still work. So it's just like, hey, this is the regular thing, but
almost seeming like a lack of confidence to a certain extent at the end of the round there for Astralis. They had been set up outside of hookah and other rappel positions for a good minute or two of that round at least, and you would think with 6 drones being shot out, they would have at least a decent amount of intel about what the site setup looked like, and they might have been able to get some type of an execute going off of that, but just never really materialized until they were forced into it at the 15-second mark. And I mean, when teams are forced into those usually end up going the way we expect them to, which is very single-handedly towards the defense, and that was pretty much what happened there.
Yeah, they basically just iron-willed it through the utility game. There was just really nothing there that Astralis could possibly try and muster. So we'll see if they can get something done here on round 2. Obviously, XSET will be switching up bomb sites, excuse me. It's going to be going downstairs towards kitchen here, and obviously they will be prioritizing some defensive play on the second floor as well. Big piece of the puzzle here. They'll be able to, or have to try and maintain. Also, some new stuff happening inside of this storage area here, folks. You can see Prod's got, a new amount of space to play with. They kind of updated the square footage here, as well as got rid of the grate, moved that door forward just a little bit as well. So there's just more breathing room overall for the defense. And honestly, it just feels nicer to be in that area.
Unfortunately, the rent's gone up by $100 though, so.
Dude, this isn't New York. This is Ibiza.
I think it's going to be even more expensive personally. But we've got Astralis. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's like a huge vacation destination. But we've got Astralis starting to work their way forward here now, taking a bit of map control for themselves. Filthy with an interesting preset. It's not going to really do a whole lot of damage, although it wasn't too far off at the same time. DP Fire had even a few more steps to his right, might have suffered an unfortunate fate, or at least a small amount of damage, since the top down would not have done anything close, I believe, to the damage that happens from the other direction. Either way, though, 2 minutes gone from the round now, and once more Astralis are so far following through with a very static attack, trying to set up for an all-in play. That is, of course, until J90 makes some moves forward. He finds an opening opportunity to get himself, and just himself, to the inside of kitchen, and he's going to take it. Doesn't end up going too well for him, but the good news is DP Fire and Iconic have found successful hits here, and now even better, they found a hop-in on the kitchen window. following up the plays from J9O, and they've been able to get a plant going from that. XSET kind of seems stunted here. Doesn't even really know what happened, but Filthy with a very nice drop-down shot is going to regain control over Sunrise and a possible retake here, although it's still going to be very tough. Astralis got a lot of control very suddenly, and oh no, Razor with another kill. They're both low HP now. That's the problem. The two remaining Astralis players should be able to handle it, but just as I say that, Filthy steals yet another kill right out of the hands of Astralis here. Bags are going to start working their way down. Flashes. Going to start dumping on top there in hopes of getting a player off of the defuse itself. Works initially, and there we go. The spam from Shuttle up on top wins out the round as Astralis just barely pieced together that sudden attack.
Too many angles to worry about there, and obviously the soft bodies of the XSET members not able to take the gunfights how they wanted to either there. The Bearing 9's going to win it out with very minimal ammo used as well. So Astralis will be able to at least get a round on the board here, and it's already looking so much more solid from the previous round. The biggest thing is they're actually moving forward, guys. That's the thing. They actually took map control and started trying to push into the building. It was very, very solid overall. And also, actually, John, the average studio apartment in Ibiza is $935 a month for rent, whereas in like New York, it's like $1,500 to $2,500.
Guess Spain's kind of cheap.
Hey, man, I guess. I don't know. I just, you know, I'm not up on my Spain housing market, so.
Yeah, I don't really know what the rest of Spain's housing market looks like. But that doesn't sound too bad to me. Either way, we'll move away from the economics discussion, move back into this game as we're going to the double bar setup next for XSET as they're coming very, very close, mainly due to the delay coming out right now from Astralis to winning multiple defensive rounds, but only been able to go 1-for-1 so far, though they came very close to bringing out the 2v4 clutch on that last one.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get too far past the housing market thing, I know we said we were leaving, but have you ever seen like a studio apartment in New York?
Yeah,
have you ever seen one of them?
Like 300 square feet.
It's like behind the Aqua Bar right there. If you just like put a wall there, like just the Aqua Bar space, that's like $900 a month. It's like you don't even have a toilet. Like you have to go use the bathroom in like the community bathroom. Wait till we show you San Francisco. Concrete jungle where dreams are made of, my friend. That's what New York is, apparently. Allegedly.
As we take a peek once again at the opening attacking strat here from Astralis, it's looking very, very passive once more. Big focus on the drone intel with those first couple of seconds in the first minute of the round here. But also going to try and take care of the wall leading into the kitchen setup so that they can try to deal with this extended play. Skyer's going to be going off any second, so creators will have to go to the sink corner here, and now even further back than that, it looks like, as there's also going to be pressure coming at him from the kitchen window itself, not creating a very healthy environment for creators to try and survive in. So he'll fall back, he'll migrate to a new part of the map here, and that'll probably end up being a pretty safe call, all things considered.
Astralis once again slow and steady inside of the first minute, but that's something that we would expect from the last two rounds that we've seen. They really want to lean into this drone game and see what they can possibly secure, and with Flores inside of the operator lineup on offense as well, they'll be more than likely looking to hit as many of these Rotero drones into important pieces of utility as they can find. Filthy is also going to end up losing his life. He'll be the first pick inside of this one, so Astralis already jumping ahead here. Found some entry points over on the west side of the map as well. Excuse me, east side. Apologies. Razor was flipping around there on the compass just for a split second, so kind of had me topsy-turvy. But either way, Astralis going to slow things up once again here. Want to lean back into these drones and see where these XSET members want to reside. And as of right now, this is looking like a towels hit if they want to try and go for it. But they do indeed have to worry about, some possible players as well as DP Fire being inside of kitchen. NVK tries to push the envelope as the pressure's coming in from upstairs, but oh no, they'll lose two big members here. Creators tries to step up to the plate as a secondary option, and well, looks like the options have gone nuclear here, at least for the Astralis camp. It's down to Razor in the 1v5. He can't even shoot Retro through this wall as it's been reinforced, so he'll simply have to stay here and see if someone wants to try and come back through this rotation. It's a 1 versus 5 for him as J9 will clean it up. It'll be flawless for the Astralis camp. It's a 2-1 lead.
Way too far apart in the setup there, it seemed, for our defenders, unfortunately, over on the XSET side, as the members of Astralis quickly figure that out on the drone intel. They begin a process of just splitting apart the setup player by player, and for the most part, they do that job pretty darn well as they whittle it down, going all the way to the final seconds, and then close out on that last extended player, holding upstairs on the inside of Hookah, giving them a flawless round there, and starting to look a lot better for Astralis here now after coming very close in the first two rounds, but that one obviously a big departure from what we had seen as everything goes under their control in that round. XSET cannot get anything going with their very spread out defense.
XSET threw everything in the kitchen sink at DP Fire inside of kitchen. We're talking vertical angles as well as an impact being used early to try and prevent him from even getting into service. I mean, there was a lot of things that XSET were trying to do to make sure that he couldn't get that control. And, you know, once it was given up, even initially, you know, they still try to find some answers to it. And they just, the thing inside of that doesn't make sense to me, John, is the double swing for kitchen door. I understand NVK, but creators coming in, you know, 4 to 5 seconds later and trying to swing on that once again, more than likely ill-advised just given the situation. So it was just another body going to the wayside that wasn't necessarily needed.
All right, guys, we're going to go into a technical timeout here real quick. It looks like one of the players does have I believe it's a frozen drone or something like that is what they told us. So we're resetting the game real quick.
We'll just take it out of the freezer.
Leave. This is my cast now. You're not allowed to talk anymore.
Like, I don't get it, man. Why can't it just thaw? Come on.
I just got the DM from Ubisoft. You're fired. So I'll see you later.
Oh, come on, dude. What? No, not like this. I always figured it'd be something. I always figured it'd be some stupid joke that I made that would get me fired, John. Honestly, that's what I always thought. But
oh, come on. Take it out of the freezer.
All right. Well, while John brings himself back together, folks, from my terrible antics, Astralis is looking very, very solid on these offenses right now. I'm really liking what they're doing with their info game early to influence how they want to take map control. I think that's the biggest thing that's standing out to me right now. We didn't see too much going on from the Rotero drones or Flores inside of that last round there. Really, what it was just J9 walking in and doing what he does best, or DP Fire, excuse me, walking in and doing what he does best. So, you know, it just given the circumstances, you just kind of got to win those. XSET, that's the biggest thing, man. When you take those 50-50 coin flips, sometimes they don't go your way, and that's really what that round came down to be.
It seems like the first couple of rounds here was, the first two anyway, was kind of Astralis getting a hang of what XSET likes to do. And to be fair, XSET made some mistakes, I think, with their setup in the third round. So that's not entirely, you know, Astralis doing a fantastic job is why they won that so definitively. But at the same time, I think that this third round is really locked in. And that combined with the mistakes from XSET in the third round are the reason why we saw a sudden departure from what happened in rounds 1 and 2 and why suddenly Astralis was taking over so much. So the ball is in their court. It's up to XSET now to make the necessary adjustments here, probably rely a bit more on themselves and play into a team-centric setup. I think they have some good sites for that starting to be unlocked, such as their first choice upstairs. So they can go back to that relatively soon, if not on this next round here, and try to pretty quickly, I would hope, course correct and try to get this back to a close scoreline overall as well.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I think that XSET's initial strategy was very, very cool. We were talking about the panels that had been dropped down on Pink or Couch or whatever you guys want to call it at the back of Billiards. But either way, it was a very, very cool strategy that ended up working out into their favor. But past that, they've been playing a lot of defaults as well as they really haven't made any true down-to-heart adjustments up against what Astralis' playstyle has been so far on this offensive side for Coastline. We haven't seen really any like Mute Mozzie. We haven't seen, you know, any of these, you know, defensive setups that we've seen on the top floor for things like Kitchen with like Goyo and stuff like that, trying to hold theater. You know, these are a lot of things that teams have been doing as of late, and we just really haven't seen any of these adjustments out of XSET just yet. So we could see some very serious things happening inside of these next rounds. And like right now, this would be a perfect example for when we could be fitting in just a little bit more of that info denial, if that's what they so choose, just because, you know, creators walking in on the vigil and stuff like that. But we'll have to see exactly what they want to do. Razor instead is going to go for the Kaid for this kitchen defense. So probably going to try and do something with top floor or something like that. Could obviously use those to lock down beer or kegs as well. So we'll see necessarily what XSET's game plan is for this next one.
The only problem if it's attempted to be played upstairs specifically to deny some of these walls is going to be how long they can actually deny access to wherever the
they only have one deployable shield, so it's like where are you going to try and set up? You know what I mean?
Assumably the claws are going to be somewhere like in this area, right? Obviously up another floor, but somewhere in this area. And that's usually where Astralis would immediately go in from. So that's like the first point on the map that normally the attackers are going to be able to steal away from the defenders, and it's not very easy, from my understanding, for the defenders to try and actively hold that. But with the new
I completely forgot about these.
Yeah, this is a wall now. This isn't a window anymore. So, okay, never mind. I perfectly see how this could work now.
Yo, yeah, you might want to defend those. John and I will shut up. It's fine. It's okay.
It's our first time. It's our first time on it, so. And to be fair to us, there's been like 0 play in that room on this map, so we haven't even like seen it yet.
I literally haven't even seen VIP inside of this map
I forgot
yet.
that got changed to a wall, so that makes a lot more sense now.
I completely forgot that is a deploy. Like, you actually have to reinforce that now. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so that changes up a lot of this dynamic here. Yes. Okay.
Now we know where the electric claws are going.
We found the reason. The Da Vinci Code has been unlocked.
Where does the second one go, Stokes? But where does the second claw go?
Well, it's down. So I guess we're playing
somewhere.
Where's the Electro Claw? We're gonna be playing Where's the Electro Claw for the rest of this one, folks. So make sure to add us on Twitter at Bluecast at Stokes. Find us that. There you go. Yeah, Shuttle's found the initial one. We just got to find the second one now. I don't know where this secondary Electroclaw is. So
to be honest, I don't know if he's found the initial one yet. It looked like he was hunting for it there a second ago on the drone, but we'll get a better idea of that in a minute when we actually start to see Astralis move in and take the control for themselves, which should be over the next few seconds here. J90 just now opening the Hall of Fame door. Here's the problem, though, with the way that the setup changed. J90 potentially is walking into a crossfire if he doesn't have drone intel. He does, so he's going to be able to make it past that without too much of an issue, but other fights are starting to brew across the map as well. Iconic, for instance, has taken luggage control, does have another member of XSET around the corner. Looks like it's going to be Filthy. There's a 3-man setup upstairs here from XSET in the meanwhile between Filthy and 2 of the others to try and maintain this theater control. And right now it's working out pretty darn well here as Astralis struggling to get anything going for themselves yet again.
Well, Astralis is slowly backing off XSET, though, just to be fair. They're starting to get stuck inside of this theater area, which means that likely at any moment they'll have to burst out and try and find a couple of these frags. Iconic continuing to try and hold on to luggage. He'll be able to at least give up 1 kill to his teammate. Flies in with the assistance as well, and what a clear from Astralis up top. Masterfully done there, and you can really see the work they've been putting in on this offensive side to make that go off without a hitch. That was just very, very pretty. It's down to Prod now inside of a 1 versus 4. He'll be able to at least have some effect on J9 going into these last 45 seconds with this smoke, but with that being said, well, he's going to lose his head. Iconic's going to find a very nice angle here right through the wall, and he'll end up losing his lunch. Astralis up 3-1.
That's what we talk about there at the end. Those obviously very inconsequential final few seconds, but that's really what we talk about with Coastline being a much more open map when compared to the others. Even in a 1vx scenario like that, usually a player is going to be able to find like a safe corner to tuck away in or something like that, but here on Coastline, that's not really the case. As you can see, a relatively enclosed corner still gets shot about halfway across the map there, so you got to be really careful with your playstyle, especially on the defense if you're trying to get aggressive. But at the same time, you need to do it because the attackers can use that control just as heavily if you try to play to a turtle setup and just stick yourself in the sight. It's a very difficult map to try and master here, but it does open a lot of freedom for both sides of the game here as well, which is why teams like to drift over towards it from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that was just a very, very solid round there from Astralis. I like that XSET tried to put a defensive standpoint upstairs, but I think the thing there that is a very, very big difference from what we've been seeing from other teams that have been playing their kitchen defenses upstairs is that they really didn't bring any utility in order to do so. They brought the Electro Claws, obviously, to lock up the panel for VIP, but outside of that, we didn't have a Goyo. We really didn't have any ADSs dedicated up there. There just really wasn't any, you know, bastions for them to actually stand behind and get something done. So it was just almost impossible for XSET to try and fight back in a certain sense because Astralis can simply walk up into 90. Like, what else are you going to do? You know what I mean? So when you give up that control inside of that area, that round's not going to go the way that you want to. XSET instead try to put more weight towards the top of white because they know Iconic's playing that area. And immediately while they're doing that, Astralis just walk up VIP hallway and shoot him in the back. It's that straightforward. So, you know, XSET just really not having the things in place that they want to, even though the strategy, the overarching strategy of what they're doing, you know, is still that defensive setup up top. They just need a little, you know, a couple more pieces in the proper places in order to get some things done.
So 30 seconds gone from the round here. Once again, Astralis taking that same cautious approach that we'd seen for the previous 4 rounds here. That's not to say they haven't taken any control, though, as you already saw. They're over towards Sunrise with DP Fire moving in. Rod and a few of the other members from XSET, though, are lurking the grounds, waiting for the opportunity to potentially catch someone. So far, these attempts, I should say, though, have not been going too well, and the early game has not been leading into a lot of control overall for the XSET roster. Deployable shield going to be lost very early on in the round for the upstairs hookah setup. Oh no, that drone may actually very well do some damage to Prod, but thankfully he's going to be able to get to the top of the stairs and dodge that. Gives himself an okay straits, but like we said before, he's lost the deployable shield. Does still have 2, maybe 3, excuse me, I think just 1 ADS to play off of now because that first one got shot away. Meaning that this setup is very quickly becoming just a position more than anything that may have to be given up by XSET very, very soon.
Well, the Flores drones already hitting their mark, and that's sad to say for XSET's side. Flores has been played throughout this entire offensive half so far, so they have to know these Rotero drones are coming in on a moment's notice. They end up losing so much utility around the base position. They still have the mirror there to be able to play for Prod, but obviously the smokes going to be very, very important. He can't overstep here, and without that deployable shield, crossing the door frame is going to be very difficult for him inside of Hookah. Has an ADS here, it'll burn up one. I believe he had one to his right as well, but no, Cross going to take some damage here. Nade in as well, but oh, what a shot from Prod. Finds DP Fire lacking the only area for him to try and escape, and finally XSET's on the board with 2 big frags. NBK is going to take a lot of heat in the process, but they finally stunted this offense here from Astralis instead of Astralis simply waiting outside the building until very low time.
Astralis still with some good time control, but now losing the player count as XSET finds yet another pickup here, this time against Iconic, leaving it all on J90 and Retro to make up the difference on the inside of this round, or face a second round from XSET themselves. XSET, not a lot of utility to play off of here for the defenders either. J90 walking up, he's got 2 for himself. He knows the third's to his left, but no, Prod's gonna win it out again, gets his second on the round, and they're 2 big ones as well. Retro is out all that stands. He can't even get close as Prod runs up on him, gets his 3rd kill in the round, and puts XSET's 2nd overall round on the board.
Yeah, MVP of that round is definitely Prod. That man was... he was caught in just pure hellfire there. There's really no other way to put it. Like, that man was definitely in the war there for round 5 and able to get out of it. Not scot-free, definitely some bumps and bruises, but alive, and that's what matters most. So able to take down DP Fire and bounce back to make sure Astralis cannot get into Hookah the way that they wanted to. It looked sort of bleak early on simply because of the way that Astralis was handling that position. Prod was playing, but still able to get away with it at the end of the day. We're down to the last round now here inside of this half, folks. Let's see if XSET can do it yet again to tie us up on their defensive half.
Looking like they may have got a good grasp on things, but as I was saying during the pause, that's returning to a site that they've already won previously, if memory serves me correctly, as they now have 2 wins up in Hookah and Billiards. Outside of that, it's been a struggle to control the early game, and even away from that, stem the tide with these all-in executes from Astralis that have wiped the entire scoreboard for XSET clean in a matter of seconds with the sway of it, somewhere between 3 to 5 kills happening in that short period of time. So they need to try and find some way to stop this or try to get better control over their gunfights here, because it's off of that upstairs site where XSET have been struggling on the defense.
10 seconds remaining.
All right, well, minimal time now in the prep phase, and we'll finally be back out and onto the field, back into the action. Everyone's here to see. I have some adjustments on the Astralis lineup, but I don't know if you touched on these just yet here, John, but Iconic going to be pulling in the Nomad here, so we'll see if some possible flank watch will be coming out. So yeah, they'll be able to establish some cutoffs here, and obviously with us being double bar, if they do get you know, a good sense of top control, they'll more than likely be able to lock up the stairwells, and that's going to make it very difficult for XSET to try and deal with people like J9 playing the vertical game, or DP Fire with his breaching charges. We could see those obviously come into play, and that's why XSET has gotten ahead of this upstairs. They want to make sure that Astralis aren't going to have a very easy, breezy time in these initial opening minutes.
DP Fire looking for the potential winning angle here to pay attention to as they work their way in. You can see the hot pigs coming out to assist him here, trying to figure out where these players are. It's going to be a good stun going out against the one stuck in the corner. It's Creators playing from this position. Stun soon going to expire. Nobody wants to challenge through the window for the attackers because there's still presence behind the soft wall, as well as right on the outside of the doors towards Kitchen. Red ping going on to that player now to hopefully force them out of position, but it's not going to work. Creators will maintain that spot, and there's the soft breach potential that I was talking about before, but that player has to back up fairly quickly, and that leaves Creators vulnerable as DP Fire will take him down, and Astralis once again get the opening advantage down to a 5v4. Those 2 players will quickly evacuate the kitchen area, though, as they've got about half the round left, and their focus is elsewhere.
Yeah, they've already shifted gears here, and it looks like they'll be looking into Sunrise for a possible option for the case early on inside of this round. XSET still going to be able to maintain top floor control as of right now, but the sad thing is that this isn't looking like a top floor take at all for Astralis. This is looking like it's going to be completely horizontal, and unfortunately enough for DP Fire, the wall broken up to where, oh, Razor can see his legs. He can't see Razor. He'll end up getting that kill and equalizing here. Astralis will have to try and battle back. Retro taking some heat as well in another location. Obviously, Razor to be inside of lobby as of right now. Shuttle the lone man on this situation to try and solve this. We'll have to see how they want to try and maneuver their way around this. J9's been able to procure a pick somewhere else along the map. He's actually playing currently outside of the windows for both bars here. Blue bar window, the priority. As for Razor, though, back into this situation. Flashbangs out. I'll try and avoid that like the plague. But oh no, Retro can't avoid the bullets as the execute's starting to go off inside of Sunrise. XSET battle back. They'll be able to down quite a few and take a kill here. It's actually Razors that's been downed instead. And it's a 2 versus 2. Shuttle across the map here. Still plenty of time for Astralis to try and get this case down, though. The only thing is, they don't have a single drone left inside of either of these kits. They do still have some on the flank watch. So we'll have to be aware of that. NVK at least get the repositioning. Iconic will take down Filthy. NVK not able to get to the angle quick enough. And oh no, it's all gone so very wrong. They had the initial picks. They had what they needed to hold down Sunrise. And now NVK has to try and win it out in a 1 versus 2. Shuttle finds some space and he'll be able to get back out blue as well. Back outside and into safe harbor. Same for Iconic as well. NVK, this is looking very rough.
NVK, though, arguably one of the most experienced players on this team. Yes, retirement for a while for him, but he's back now. And does he have the skills to close this one out? A good first kill. About 10 seconds left to get on the diffuser here. Where's going to be the refrag from Shuttle? NVK doesn't stick it. He hops off. Shuttle hears that. He backs up now. NVK needs to get on it within the next few seconds. He's going to try to run out here and get the kill instead. Will it work? No! Shuttle shuts it down, and Astralis take the round instead.
Well, veteran on veteran activity, and Shuttle able to shut it down. This NVK, hell of a shot through towels there. That was, oh man, just pixels on that window frame, able to secure that one. But either way, Astralis still able to get away with the bag when it mattered most. It's going to be a 4-2 split going into Astralis' defensive side.
So with Astralis taking the control for themselves, they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable moving on to the defensive half there. At the same time, quite a few close catches and near losses on the inside of that half as well. So they are going to take a tactical timeout to recenter themselves, probably more than anything, get some insight from their coach before they head into the defensive half, as this is very much going to be a make or break point for them. XSET could just as easily turn things back around and start to take control for themselves on the attack here as well. Astralis, though, more than anything, all those attacks need to be very careful with their mid-round intel, constantly seeing those late rotates from XSET show up to the site in the middle of Astralis' execution. And as we saw just there in that last round, nearly ending the round multiple times throughout the half as well. So definitely a bit of a weak point on the attack there for Astralis.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it just seemed like there was a couple of instances where Astralis had just simply lost the plot and XSET was allowed to find some very influential picks. But you know, Astralis still able to battle out of it, and that's the biggest thing here is that, you know, even with XSET having some very unique stuff going on, especially inside of round 1 with the reinforcements that we saw, you know,
and a new map layout too, right?
Yeah, that as well, right? So a couple of new things that you possibly have to try and deal with. I honestly think everything went as, you know, strongly as Astralis would have hoped for. I think this is a perfectly timed timeout as well for them. They've gotten to the half, and obviously that's going to provide a bunch of new equations for them to try and solve. You have a bunch of new operators and everything else that you have to try and deal with now. So it's just a little bit of a changing of mentality overall. So good time for Easily to step in, have a conversation with his squad, and see what they want to try and do with this defensive half. As for XSET, just remember, guys, when those tactical timeouts are taken, both coaches do get to talk to their team. So Jarvis getting to do the same here for XSET going into their offensive half. And honestly, it's looking very different from what we saw from Astralis. The thing standing out right now, Jackal, Yana, and Buck all along for the ride on this offense.
Paying attention to the setup, looking like a bit of a matrix being deployed here by Astralis to make sure, more importantly, more than anything, that VIP is going to be held by this team for a large part of the round, with some support coming in, possibly from the billiard side of the map, as well as a couple other key areas. And I believe that usual extension into the hallway outside of theater will probably be a part of this as well. We can see the mirror window going down on the outside of VIP to help with that setup as well, and just slow down the take overall. More than anything, no mitigation or no wall denial going on to that VIP wall. So not trying to slow down the take of that room, but more moving past that point. They want to trap XSET inside and waste as much time as possible before they move into more dangerous points on the map closer to the site.
Well, speaking of danger, Razor's already prodding so far forward. His prod's actually going to end up getting a frag here. Razor will get one of his own, and Astralis already falling to bits. They don't know that XSET want to be so forward with their delivery inside of this round here. Round 7, but round 1 for XSET's offensive side. And they've started off so very strong, taking out some very influential players thus far throughout this game.
DP Fire completely overwhelmed right now. The setup built entirely to negate pressure from VIP. Apparently was not ready to take the pressure from the Aqua direction. So Razor, as well as Prod, I believe, going to be able to run right through that opening setup there. A Shuttle goes down as well, and Shuttle was the player closer out to the hallway. So XSET already making a lot of forward momentum here in terms of trying to take map control away from Astralis and set up for a potential execute. They did lose DP Fire on the chase, so he's still a potential problem for these players over here by Hookah, but the drone work has been pretty good. It'll be the 3rd time now they successfully spot him out as a result of that drone work, and DP Fire will now have to continue to play back on this Cool Vibes angle as a result of that. A little bit of a clutch clone toss out here to try to see if he can get a tag on his opponent. Doesn't end up working out. It just shot pretty quickly, but still valiant attempt from DP Fire. Here's the problem though. Nades are going to force him up and into the open. There's not a cross covering the Hookah door, so he's safe from that for now. But once again, another drone going to come in here, and it's Razor's too. Razor should actually be careful on that. Oh man, that silhouette so close to hitting him right in the arms. Either way, a lot of time being wasted. We do probably want to check out the actual execute in a moment, because it seems now they're shifting away to focus on that now.
Yes, and as we get on board with Iconic, he's currently stuck behind a Miro window that's popped. DP Fire's actually down the case inside of VIP. Oh no, this is starting to go so wrong, but Filthy actually starting to push forward. Iconic will swing out and try and find a kill of his own, and well, it seems as though XSET has been able to solve this one, hasn't it, folks? DP Fire going to be the lone man now for Astralis. He's been trying to make magic happen on the top of Cool Vibes here for quite some time. He was able to secure that one frag, but outside of that, it's been radio silence from the Astralis camp. DP Fire now with only 30 seconds remaining to try and get onto this case and defuse. And he's got 4 targets to worry about. Razor already has his cut set up as well here from Luggage for VIP. He'll be able to take him down, and that's going to be a very important round for XSET.
Astralis, for the most part, just not really ready for such early aggression to come in from XSET over towards the Aqua side of the map. And even past that point, DP Fire doing a fantastic job of trying to waste as much time as possible, and succeeds to some extent in that regard. However, ultimately, at the end of the day, the players on site also trying to waste a bunch of time there, but it is eventually caught by XSET, figured out, more importantly, torn apart, leaving DP Fire well off the side over towards Cool Vibes, alone, and as you said, against 4 different players to try and target out from XSET, so just not really a winnable situation, as XSET's very quickly going to close the gap now in the first round of the second half of the 4-3 scoreline. Did get a quick HUD bug on one of the players, folks, from XSET, so we are working on rebooting their client now and getting them back in.
Yeah, it'll be very quick, folks, because luckily enough, nowadays, we just get to pause the game and wait for the person to come back. Back in the day, we had to make the entire lobby over again, and that was a lot of fun, let me tell you. But nowadays, it's about like a 2 to 3 minute thing, and actually less than that. I think that was like the land speed record right there. Filthy knew exactly what it was. He just Alt F4'd that thing and was right back in. So we got him back in for XSET, and we are ready to go once again, folks.
All right, so right back into the action here as Astralis still maintains the lead, but by a small margin, considering the way that that first round on this second half has gone. We could very quickly be looking at a 4-4 here. Not the best show by Astralis and their first defensive round here. We'll see if a more traditional site is going to serve them better, as they did try to extend out very early on over towards Theater. Now we're going back to the basics over here now in Kitchen. Oh, and that's, not a huge amount of damage on the J9 now, so pretty inconsequential at the end of the day, but not the best.
Yeah, it's not great when you damage your teammates, but it's like, you know, depending on the amount, right? Like if it's like 5 HP, it'll probably be okay, but it's whatever.
I think it's either like slightly less than 1 bullet right now, so I think it doesn't really matter.
I don't like with that bar. I mean, so obviously we had some recent changes with this as well. So we'll point this out for those of you at home that are now looking at the health bars and wondering why is there 3 segments on Shuttle's name and why is there 3 segments on Retro's name and so on and so forth.
Where's the 4th?
We finally got the update for the HP to armor thing. So now all of the armor classes just relate to HP, so it makes more sense overall. So basically, when you play any of these characters, they could have like 110 HP or like 125 or 100, just depending depending on what, speed and armor you're playing for your operator. So that's why those bars are in now. So yeah, J9's probably only gotten at probably 8 damage, honestly, if we wanted to be real precise with it. So it's not even a bullet, to be honest with you. It'd be like somebody basically breathing on him. It'd really matter if he ran into a toxic babe. That's when it would really start to pick up. But either way though, we're about 30 seconds into the round now, folks. XSET have not made as harsh of an entry as we saw inside of round 7. This has allowed some time for Astralis to breathe, but that doesn't mean that they haven't worked on map control. We already have Razor downstairs inside of office. He'll be able to suss out the hatch that's been popped inside of Aqua here, the fish hatch at the back of that. So Razor will have an eye on that for the time being. But there's quite a few hatches now as we get more of the plot that has been popped across this top floor. So we'll have to worry about any of these roamers coming in behind them on a moment's notice.
DP Fire once again going to have a lot of the pressure on him in the front lobby. Iconic has been able to successfully steal a drone away from XSET and is about to get some good intel on the Sunrise take here. No specific players being spotted, but he should be able to get some audio intel onto the player playing from the window and hopefully on something on the one outside of pool door too. This is very close to his focus point as well, so he's probably going to be moving that drone around pretty actively to avoid it getting cut off. Meanwhile, back over to DP Fire. He's facing with some of the same problems, though. A drone actually encroaching upon him, so he's possibly going to have some pressure from XSET bursting in through the front door pretty soon if they were able to find him out, and they believe he's still in an exposed position. Iconic's actually moved all the way back from Cool Vibes over to Theater now, so another big change up in that department, and J9O has come down the stairs to the lobby to support the position of DP Fire, so we're already a lot shifting here, more so for the Astralis defense over anything else, and J9O actually sneaking a shot off, I think, on the Filthy right there, so he loses about a chunk or two of his own HP and is now going to back away from the front door entirely, instead putting focus on the actual OBJ. He tries to go for service door, but that too has someone watching it, so just can't really win right now if you're Filthy here as he tries to find some safe area to try and hold.
Anywhere an XSET member goes, an Astralis member follows, it seems, at least to them, as every single avenue they've checked so far, there's a man standing there, waiting. XSET finally able to get something here upstairs. They've been able to pop open the walls here for VIP, which will allow them to have some angles to try and stop this plant from going down. Razor will shut down one. They're not going to get enough damage onto Prod here, and there's no true stop here. Still plenty of utility in order to do so, so strangely enough, this is actually going to start going by the wayside as well for XSET. Creator's going to start pouring in Rotero drones to try and get some extra information. Filthy's going to end up losing his life inside of Sunrise as well. So Astralis all of a sudden have an opportunity here to make this a 5-3 split. Retro stepping up to the plate on Kitchen now. DP Fire will end up running out. He gets the initial frag here. He's going to end up getting fragged out. Can they find the frag? Retro, does he have enough time? He does! No! Why did you sprint? Don't sprint! That's not what you're supposed to do! Oh no! Not like this, XSET! Come on, guys! You gotta stay gun up! He's right there on the angle. You know where the case is planted. I feel like kicks, man. Like, what just happened? Like,
XSET thought they had the free W holding down the diffuser when in reality it had it for just enough time. There it is on the replay one more time, folks. So close. Literally was aimed in on his head and everything. Marked the bullet, but the invulnerability shield came up halfway across that bullet's travel path there as the round was won. And Astralis take it, reignite the same lead they had at halftime, now put themselves only 2 rounds away from closing out the map.
You want to know something that's absolutely terrible about that situation as well?
What?
I personally have had this one happen to me, not with like the case down, but like in gunfights happen a lot. Because when you sprint, even when you get your gun up, there's a split second where you're not allowed to shoot. Your gun will not fire even if you are holding mouse 1. And that's exactly what just happened to him. So he got the gun up, but the gun still wouldn't shoot because he was still coming off of sprint. And that's why sprinting is so bad in those situations, because even if you can get your gun up, you still aren't allowed to shoot for that split second. And that can be the make or break and if you live or die.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, XSET falling just barely on the inside of that round after getting an incredibly clean plant off as well. Was very surprised they were able to even get that plant through the kitchen window there, considering the number of players Astralis did have in the area. No one catches it though, And XSET potentially thinking they have a free win afterwards, but it's Astralis ready to fend off all of the post-plant movement from XSET. That's where they get a large majority of their kills, and then 2v2 is managed beautifully, especially by the player that ends up running out through pool door there. Regardless, though, we're into the next round. XSET is putting that behind them and is focusing on the future as they try to find their fourth and keep this game close overall, but no! Razor by a razor's edge misses the movement from Retro, and it's Retro instead that will spot the rappel rope, take out Razor, and get the opening kill once again for the defense.
It's so unfortunate. It's that single plank broken in the window, and Razor misses Retro by milliseconds, whereas Retro is able to catch his shoulder just before he gets in behind the panels. Just guesses right as to where he ended up going. Heck of a move there from him, and that's going to be a big pickup as Razor has really been the opening artillery thus far, or opening payload for XSET to really open up these rounds and try and give Astralis a hard time so far on this offense. But it's going to be a double down now from the defense. Filthy going to the wayside as well. This is a 5v3 at a 5v3 scoreline.
Well, for XSET, don't expect a whole lot of action to show up just as of yet here. There's a lot of thinking they need to do for themselves. Kairos is going down. They didn't really need to be shot out realistically by Retro, but he's safe as can be in a normally very exposed position, so he has nothing to worry about right now with the 5v3 advantage. Nearly a 5v2 as Prod goes desperately hunting for the source of those bullets, but can't seem to find it, as I do believe it came from the inside of Billiards, a player just on the inside there getting an angle against him as he swung just a tad too wide here. That's the reason why he goes lower.
Oh, well, we'll at least see the smoke move here, but J9 able to get back into Vase. Looks like he's going to have some pressure coming in from below him, but actually it's going to be the frag grenade that'll claim his life instead. Okay. NVK with 2 big frags here and really starting to warm things up. They'll be able to equalize, and Prod's actually going to start the plant immediately inside of the hookah door. Iconic will get a kill, but Creators with the refrag. Iconic with 2 now in Retro. He'll pick it up with the Evil Eye. Oh no, the lasers able to get it done, and Astralis, it just seems like they're indomitable at this point. XSET just have no right winning these rounds.
I do like there how instant the round resolution was after we managed to get the actual case down on the ground. It was like, Astralis was hey, yeah, you guys can have a plant, but we get another round. That's the trade-off you get here, because the second that thing went on the ground, the Evil Eye finished its damage course and was able to melt down the last player, and it just kind of became more of an unfortunate timing thing that the rest of the players on XSET ended up going down at the exact same time as well. But close, and once again, man, XSET bringing it back from the brink that started at a 3v5, obviously ending up much better than where things potentially could have gone. It nearly a flawless round for the defense, but still.
Yeah, it's very rough. You know, they get the equalization there. NVK pulling so much weight inside of that round with the frag grenade, right? With the back-to-back frag coming in just from his regular weapon as well, and just not able to translate that into much. It's very sad to see, because it feels like we have these sparks happening across the entirety of this roster, but they're just not lining up on a round-to-round basis. We're having, you know, Razor get some really, really strong influence inside of that first offensive round. They end up picking it up, but past that, we've had some nice frags come in from XSET that they really haven't been able to do too much with. I mean, from their defensive side, they were able to make some strong standpoints, and yeah, we did see some of their frag influence come in from that, but once Astralis was playing more coordinated and more for what XSET's playstyle was, everything started to fall to pieces, and that looks like it's happening here once again.
Did see that last desperate timeout coming in here from XSET as they're going to try to piece together something on what could be the very final round, try and save themselves on the inside of this matchup and prevent a second loss already inside of stage 2 after they took one to Beast Coast yesterday. Astralis, in the meanwhile, they're looking for their very first win after they had a bit of a closer match yesterday versus the OXG roster, dropping that one, I believe, actually with a very similar scoreline ultimately, as it was about the same closeness at 7-3 is what that one ended up being. So this would put Astralis' record at 1-1 if they can successfully finish it at some point in the next 3 rounds. We'll see if they can do that, though, as once again they're back upstairs in this tricky theater setup, which did not go the way they wanted it to on the last round, or last attempt, I should say. We'll see if XSET can tear it apart just as easily with that fast opening play, or if Astralis has quickly learned their lesson and is going to be much more ready for the action when the round gets started.
This is going to be a little bit more rudimentary from what we've seen for these defenses, all except for what's going on here over on the pink side of things. You can see some things going on right now inside of couches. As they're going to be actually reinforcing a multitude of these panels. I believe that last one's not going to get set up. They just want that for possible cross here as well that they can try and muster later on if they so choose. But with those new walls being inside of VIP and making it to where you can actually hold space inside of the VIP area, you can see people are a lot more apt to pop the wall there as well for the quad wall, triple wall. I can't remember how many reinforcements go on that thing nowadays, but the wall next to DJ equipment, man, it's a long one. But either way, though, now that you're actually allowed to make some lineups through that, and they're not as harsh as they once were, that's the biggest thing, is like you had to place so much utility in that area simply because of that being a window, and there's nothing you could really do about that. That's going to change up a lot of how this site's going to play, so it could be pretty interesting going forward as to some of the defensive setups that we're going to see, but at least for this Astralis one, this one's making quite a bit of sense. DP Fire going to be the point man on this setup overall. He's got quite a few XSET bodies headed his way.
Similarly to the last attempt here, so this is just rerunning the same round that we had at the beginning of the half for him. Lost the challenge last time, though, or actually escaped it, I should say, but this time there is no escape. It'll have to be J90 that picks up the pieces this time. Prod gets a clean opening kill and some good damage onto J90, and, I mean, Astralis give up this area of the map entirely, and this continuing skirmish is not looking great for them here. Both J90 from the earlier fight, and now Shuttle from the last couple of seconds have taken some serious damage. Filthy able to finish off Shuttle outright now as well, bringing the Astralis camp down to just 3 very spread out members remaining, as XSET once more gets very early control going for themselves. Razor being a bit cautious on the clone here. Nothing too big to risk as he swings around the corner, but doesn't want it to go on the longer cooldown. It'll end up doing so anyway, as Richard shoots it out in a retake. Just wanted to tell if the player was still there so they could pull that off. Fortunately for XSET, not going to line up. Becomes very close to getting yet another kill against the Astralis setup here. So now they'll have to put their focus on the execute itself, as everybody going to go into a hyper-defensive mode that is still alive here on the Astralis roster. Razor, though, it's not the case. He gets sprayed down by Iconic while still on the inside of the theater position. The Astralis begin to start turning the wheel the other direction, and Razor is just more surprised he got killed there than anything else.
I mean, hey, sometimes it's just like that, John. You randomly get shot through a wall or a singular bullet taps your head, and it's like, wow, I really don't know what just happened to me here. But either way, it's a 3 versus 4 for Astralis. It's going to be a run out from J9, and it looks like it's going to happen once again here. They got case control. Iconic's going to handle the double window for Penthouse as well. They know that someone's still over in pink and more than likely going to head back towards luggage. It's going to be NVK. His creators will be up on the roof, and he's going to be giving up the entirety of his location with that skeleton key, so they know they have to be aware of what's going on here. NVK, he's going to get 2-piece in the side of fried by Iconic. That'll be a triple here, as creators will be the last man alive for XSET. He'll be able to at least get J9, but he can't hop through that without an extra skeleton key bullet, and that's also empty as well, so wasting even more time. Swings out the window. No one's going to give him a gunfight, though, until Iconic steps up, but it's 0-0, as we can see the last Astralis member running all the way towards the top of White Stairs. It's going to be a 7-3 victory here for Astralis after XSET simply cannot deliver off of their picks early on in their rounds.
XSET seemingly starting things off with a close scoreline here in the first half, faltering as we move into the second half. Once again, only able to find that control in the hookah billiards part of the map. They are not able to exercise a whole lot of it beyond that point, as we see them pick up 2 defensive rounds on that site and 1 attacking round against the theater hold, but via a path through those 2 parts of the map. So good intentions coming out there for XSET. Quite a few rounds as well, where they come very close after falling behind initially to turning things back, but it just never really comes true, unfortunately, as has been the story for the XSET roster so many times this season inside of the NAL. Either way, there was Astralis with some great adjustments bouncing off of their loss against OXG yesterday, are going to come out victoriously, reversing the scoreline and reversing the team's fates, quite literally, as they take today's game 7-3 after losing yesterday's 3-7, and now giving them an overall record of 1-1 in the league. Like I said, overall, though, great adjustments, great play today from Astralis, and a much better performance for that newly orged team.
Yeah, Astralis is looking fantastic, especially from their showcase yesterday into today. This looks like a much more calm and collected squad that we were able to see. And as for XSET, honestly, you can kind of say the same thing. Yesterday, they seemed very distraught, disconnected, not a lot of synced, plays going on, just no one really backing up each other in the way that you should in a game like Rainbow Six. But today, it seems a lot more coordinated, and that's definitely exciting for their future. As we were talking about before this game started, John, I think that this roster definitely has the potential to be something successful for the XSET organization. It's just a long road ahead of them, especially with Prod and NVK just coming in recently. That's going to be a very big change up for them that they're going to have to still try and get figured out. But Coastline overall, still definitely an Astralis showcase if I have seen one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short break, and when we do come back, well, the analysts ready to break down this match, and then they'll get us ready for our final game of the day, which is going to be between the Sonics and SSG.